Welcome to the Garden Show. I'm Geri Hoerner, and joining me today again is Butch Tetzlaff, and he's the owner of the Bluebird shed here in Bella Vista. So glad you're back joining us again.
Yeah, thanks, Geri. It's good to be back.
Yeah. This month we're going to be talking about feeding the birds of Bella Vista and a few other things about birds. And we're going to be covering some upcoming events and things you need to do in your garden in February. There's not much to do, but there's a few things we have to do. But first I want to talk about our sponsors. I want to thank our sponsors, the Bella Vista Garden Club and the Benton County Master Gardeners. And they've just been wonderful sponsors for our show. And we appreciate it. And of course we appreciate the Bella Vista Community TV also. But as far as upcoming events, there's not many going on in February, but I did get notice from the Orchid Society of the Ozarks. It's holding their 14th show and sale, and it's in a new location this year. And they used to be at the Botanical Garden in the Ozarks, but now they have a new location at the Pauline Whitaker Animal Science Center. It's huge. It's on the campus in Fayetteville at 1335 West Knapp Drive, and they're going to have their sale Friday, February 28th from 5 to 7:30, and that's open to everyone now instead of just a few people. Saturday, March 1st from 9 to 5, and Sunday, March 2nd from noon to 4. They're also going to have some classes and some instructions too, and you can buy wonderful orchids there. So anyway, that's the Orchid Society. But first we need to talk about the birds. I love the birds in the winter. They're so pretty. They really are. And we need to know what to feed them.
Yeah, what to feed them.
Yeah,
in the wintertime. Yeah, so the best seed in general is black oil sunflower seed.
Yeah.
Okay. When I say black oil, it just is kind of one word, slam it together. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's black in coloration.
But it is dark.
But it is dark,
Oh,
yeah. It is dark, okay. So black oil sunflower seed is the go-to seed. Songbirds, typically that come to our feeders, don't really like anything that's round. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb, is if you're buying round seed,
That
it probably
mixture with all the blends.
You got it. It has a tendency just to be on the ground and end up wasting, bringing rodents in the area and that sort of thing. So
and the squirrels.
Yeah, so you're looking for something that's not round. That's the best rule of thumb. So black oil sunflower seed, either in the shell or out of the shell, and then combine that with a suet feeder. A suet feeder is real good. It's a high fat content seed. Birds store fat on their bodies in order to get through the winter cold, the cold spells.
Well, it's really been cold this year.
Yes, yeah.
Really
so they've been hitting the suet feeders hard this year already. So,
and there is the suet you can make yourself. I think it's on the Garden Club website.
Yeah, there is actually. Yeah, the Bluebird Society.
And,
the Bluebird Society calls it Bluebird pudding.
Yeah,
but it's just a colloquial name for it. But you can put lard and peanut butter and a little bit of cornmeal together and make your own concoction. Some people have secret recipes, if you will, and that sort of thing that they like to do. But commercial blends are just as good. It's not a problem.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then for the winter, does it change though? I mean, when you
in the feeding, so you really should seasonally change what you put out.
Okay. Well, before we get out of winter, I want to talk about this. This is the water heater.
This is a heated rock, yes.
A heated rock, and I'm telling you, this has been wonderful for the birds this year. It's 5 degrees. I looked outside, and I have this outside my patio door, and it's like they've got water to drink.
Yeah,
which is just and I've had this for several years, so I can't remember how long.
If you put out water, you'll actually get more birds in than if you just put out seed by itself.
Because they don't have any water in the winter.
Exactly.
It's all frozen.
Exactly.
It's so sad.
Yeah, they cannot drink snow.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't eat ice and that sort of thing. So they do need open water.
But that's a wonderful thing, and you have these for sale.
Yeah, we have those at the store.
Those are great. So once we get out of this winter, which has been really, really cold, did we change the food or?
Yeah, you can slightly change it. So black oil sunflower seed, as I said, is kind of the go-to seed. It's a good seed for year round.
Yeah,
exactly. And then you can change things out periodically through the season. So when we get more into the springtime, you want to go to a suet that doesn't melt. It's a no-melt type of suet because it'll start to warm up.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that's when Bluebird pudding is not the best to put
Yeah,
out because
'cause
lard is just, it would
drip.
just ooze. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So Bluebird pudding is a good thing December, January, February when it's really cold out. When you start to get March, April, you want to back off the Bluebird pudding a little bit and go to a no-melt type of suet. If you want.
Okay.
And then you can put that out all the way
All
in
year.
through July, really.
Yeah.
You know, and then you start bringing that in August. If you just have a limited amount of space in your yard for feeders, in April you can take down your suet feeder and put out your hummingbird feeder. So
I put mine out April 1st.
Yeah,
my hummingbird
exactly. That's
feeder,
about the time they come
show
back.
up usually by the 9th or 10th, the latest. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's about the time period they start to show up. So then you'll have hummingbird feeders out from then until about the beginning of October. Yeah, but then another thing good to put out from about March to July is mealworms. So
Yeah, I
that's a
think
real
I've
good-
tried that one time, but they didn't go after it much.
It takes them a little while to warm up to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
so-
like they have to acquire taste for it.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So feeding in wild birds is a learned behavior. They
Yeah.
actually have to learn what is food. So you'll see young ones just out pecking around randomly trying to figure
Yeah.
out what is food after they
Yeah.
stop being fed by parents. But mealworms are a good source of protein. They have a little bit of fat in them as well, but the bluebirds especially will feed mealworms to their
Oh,
offspring
to their
in the
babies.
nest. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a good time period between March and
Yeah,
about
when you
July.
see those eggs in the nest, then
Yeah.
start getting the mealworms.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it. So it does. Yeah, so feeding slightly varies, through the season, So
That's
it's
good.
it's a good thing to do.
Okay, and then once we get into feeding, when they start feeding their babies, they're just going after insects. And,
Primarily,
Really?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anything that we put out during the summertime is supplemental food. All right, they don't rely on it, or they don't become dependent on it, or anything like that.
well,
so.
somebody was saying, they shouldn't put feeders out because then they don't go after the natural food.
Yeah,
It's just a supplement.
It is a
really.
supplement, yeah,
It's
all
not
the-
going to
yeah.
make them
Yeah,
not
and-
go after the normal food.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's available.
And any studies that have been done on feeder birds and bird feeding have found that it's a supplementary type of food.
Yeah.
So they primarily feed insects to their offspring.
So if you
Okay,
don't fill your
so-
feeder up, they're not going to starve to
They're
death.
not going to starve. Yeah,
that's
they're
good to
not going to
know.
starve.
Okay.
Yeah. In a hot, dry season, though, put your water out there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely have.
You have to have water.
Yeah, definitely have that
Yeah.
out there for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then, do we have to change anything like in the fall or anything, or is it just basically?
Yeah, that'd be the time to start bringing in your feeder, your hummingbird feeder for sure. Okay, hummingbirds have been moving south. If you leave it out longer, if you still have a straggler past October, you can leave it out. That's fine. Leaving your hummingbird feeder out beyond that point will not cause them not to migrate.
Right.
Okay, it's a photo period type of thing, which means that once the daylight starts getting smaller and smaller, physiologically they recognize that and they
They're
migrate south.
yeah.
They'll just move on their own. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't cause them not to migrate. So, but you can take that
But
in.
you could have a straggler
Yeah.
here and there.
You could.
know.
Yeah,
Some people
there are
have seen
some.
them in November, December.
Yeah.
They just kind of got lost. Maybe
Yeah,
they
yeah.
haven't
They
found
just,
their way
yeah,
south.
they just didn't go.
Didn't
yeah.
go. So, okay. Well, we're going to take a break for just a few minutes or a minute or so, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about more things about birds and what kind of birds you'll find in Bella Vista. Okay, welcome back. So we just took a little break, and now we're going to talk about what are the most common birds we see in Bella Vista.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. That was one of my things that I was interested in finding out, as well as monitoring long-term trends. Okay, so about 5 years ago, we started what we call the monthly bird survey at the
Right.
store. Okay, it was just open to anybody that was interested in doing it. You could come and go and provide information or not, so if you happen to, for example, yourself migrated up to Wisconsin
Right.
for the summertime, that's not a problem. Will's
Yeah.
going to...
So you just send an email out?
Yeah, exactly.
With a
I
little
send
form
an
to fill
email out,
yeah.
and there was, just like you said, there was a little form to fill out, and then you just monitored what came at your feeders.
Okay.
So after 6 years of data, we've got American goldfinch tops the list of the
That's
most
what I
common
thought,
species.
yeah.
So and really hitting the feeders hard this January. Northern cardinals, house finch, Carolina chickadees, and amazingly enough, I was really surprised, but eastern bluebird fills
Yeah,
out the
I
top
still
five.
see a lot of bluebirds in the winter.
I didn't expect to see them in the top
Yeah.
5 of the list, but yeah, that
they're
was
the top 5. Okay.
yeah, so it's been a really good survey. One of the most important things that we're doing with that, though, is also studying starlings and house sparrows in that as well. As Bella Vista becomes more urbanized and grows, we would expect more of an invasive type of...
More the urban type.
Yeah, exactly.
birds.
Yeah, to come into
But we
our
don't
areas.
get pigeons.
We haven't gotten pigeons yet. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
good.
so,
We don't need pigeons.
but starlings and house sparrows are still, fortunately, few and far between.
Okay.
According to the data that I've got, only 35% of yards have ever seen house sparrows in them. So it's still pretty low,
Yeah.
but it's a long-term trend that we can monitor to find out how our habitat is changing as it
Yeah.
becomes more urbanized, and we
Yeah.
will just recognize those as 2 indicator species.
Well, has there been any big surprise as to what bird has been seen?
Not necessarily a surprise per se. We have had 125 different species reported,
Wow.
which that was, if nothing else, a surprise in and of
Yeah.
itself. I would not have expected that, just given anywhere from 30 to 40 homeowners reporting once a month over a weekend, that we would have had that many species,
Well-
because you have to have a wide variety of habitats in order to have that
Well,
type
we've
of...
got a roadrunner we see once in a while.
Do you really?
Yes, I
Oh,
do.
that's fantastic,
Yeah, fun
yeah.
time. He was on our roof. He jumped up on our roof.
I'll be darned,
Good.
yeah. I've heard reports of them around, but I've actually never actually...
You haven't seen one?
No,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. He just
no.
runs between the 2 houses, between
fine.
us and the neighbor.
That's
But,
fantastic,
yeah.
yeah. So, but some good information is coming out of it, yeah.
That's great.
We're going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
Monitor.
Now, I think I told you I don't report too much because for some reason that weekend my birds could disappear.
Oh.
And I've got a witness for that. I had company come and I said, oh, this is the weekend we're going to watch for birds. And I had the farm there and everything. And Friday, the birds were all over the feeders and all. And then Saturday, she said, well, I don't see any birds today. For the weekend, they kind of disappeared that
Yeah.
weekend. And then Monday, they show up
They show
again.
up
It's
again.
like,
Yeah, you
they
don't know-
must have a...
You don't know how many times I've heard that from people, that during bird count weekend they have fewer birds than they did the previous.
I don't know
mean,
why. It's just crazy.
But do remember, and stuff like that, negative data is actually good data as well.
Okay.
Because then we're
So
showing
if we just see a
absence in
few
that case.
things, then
Yeah.
we can report.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Yes. I just haven't reported because I haven't seen too many birds. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I have a hard time identifying birds. I do have an app that's like Marlin, where I can hear the
Marlin,
birds
yes.
and it can tell me what bird I'm hearing. Because I can't recognize the calls either. I'm not a bird expert for sure, and I'm sure there's a lot of Bella Vistans that are very knowledgeable
There
about their
are.
birds.
Yeah, there are.
And they can tell by this, the call or the song.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's definitely a wide variety of abilities there.
Yeah.
I will say.
But if you do hear the song, then you know that bird's there, so we
Right.
can report that.
Right.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
report the sound. So.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Yeah, Merlin is a very good app. It's from the University, Cornell University Lab Ornithology.
Mm-hmm.
They developed it a few years back. I was kind of a part of the pilot that they were running at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a training program. So they were training their AI system in order to recognize the birds, and it
okay.
continues to get better and better as time goes on. It'll still give an anomalous reading here and there, and the folks from Cornell will say, do not use it as a scientific,
Oh, okay.
for scientific purposes in
Mm-hmm.
that sense. But it is getting more and more accurate all the time.
Some of the birds
so.
have so many different songs.
They do,
You don't,
right.
you can't recognize all of them, I don't think.
Yeah, when I first came down here to Arkansas, one of the first things I had to do was learn Carolina wrens, because we
Yeah.
didn't have them where I came from up
really?
in Illinois. They were house wrens up there. Okay, so Carolina wrens, though, have 7 different songs that they sing.
Yeah, I see.
And I learned over time that if I didn't know the song, It was probably a Carolina wren because of that.
Just
But
by elimination.
By
right?
elimination, exactly, yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, and then you do have birdhouses too for the specific birds. Like the bluebirds need a specific type of house, right?
Yeah, the bluebirds, we carry those at the store for the Bluebird Society, and the Bluebird Society makes the inventory for the store. And they're a particular dimension that works. Okay, and
They like that they prefer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it seems to work. I don't know if there's a lot of studies that's actually shown a smaller or larger size necessarily, but it works in terms of, let's just say it's effective for the board sizes that are available, that are easier
Easy
for
to
people
put
to
together.
make. Yeah, exactly.
In a certain size hole.
Yeah, an inch and a half. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
real thing. You know, the Bluebird Society has gone more to a slotted style box over the last 3 or 4 years. Slotted entrance as opposed to a hole style
really?
entrance. The original intent was to try and deter house sparrow from infesting the box, but they discovered it didn't really work.
Oh,
but
really?
what they did find out was that their box builders could more easily manufacture a slotted style box than a hole style box, because they didn't have to have drill presses and all the equipment associated with
it's
that as
easier
well.
to
So
do.
it was just easier to do in the end, and they were just as effective.
And then they told me it had to face a certain direction.
Yeah, which turns out to be a myth.
It's
Yeah,
a myth,
Yeah, so about 20 years ago, a study was done up in Wisconsin, and they said face the boxes to the east. That's what they discovered. And then it was only about 4 or 5 years later, finally, someone else did a replicate study down in, I think it was South Carolina or somewhere towards the southeast down there. And they said face them to the northwest. So it was completely the opposite direction. Well, the studies that we've done here over the last 4 or 5 years with the University of Arkansas faculty, Dr. Jen Mortensen and some of her grad students, they found that it didn't really matter around
Doesn't
here.
matter.
Yeah, around here they get just as much breeding success. In
Well, I've got
boxes that
some
were faced
bluebird.
any
It doesn't
direction.
matter if they're in the bluebird house or if they're in this one bird house that's up higher, and I can't clean it out.
Right.
So it's not cleaned every year, but I do get bluebirds in there, even though it's not a bluebird house and I can't clean it.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah,
but-
yeah. They find little nooks and crannies here. There.
Yeah. So that's great. Okay, we do have some bluebird houses here. I wanted to talk a little bit about. There's 2 over here that are made of wood, and that wood is actually from the Joplin tornado that was here. Was it about 10 years ago?
It was about a good 10 years ago
Yeah.
now.
Now the couple that did those, was it Shermans?
Yes.
The
yeah, Dan
Shermans,
Sherman.
they would gather all the debris from the tornado and make these wonderful bluebird houses, and they're just regular bird houses. I think they're more decorative than they are useful. I put mine in my inside. I don't put them outside. And then the one down below is a bluebird. I mean a bird house. I made at Terra Studios in Elkin, and so that's one I made out of clay. And then this house on this side, I bought that before I moved to Bella Vista, like 31 years ago, maybe 32 or 33. We used to come down for the mixer and play golf, and some woman would make these little bird houses, accustomed to, like your interests, and also had golf, and she even made a little copy of the Vista paper, the weekly Vista, and she shrunk it down, and it was just a cute little house I've had for a long time. So there are a lot of different houses that you can use, and I guess if I put them outside, the birds might use them.
Yeah, they might.
They
They
might.
would unfortunately probably get.
Depending on where you put them,
Yeah, they would probably get pretty
pretty beat up.
pretty beat up. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
And then I know the clay ones, I have one out there, but I think it's too low to the ground. I don't think they trust it. They have to be a little higher to keep away from the cats.
Right.
I got stray cats running around all the time. I don't know how to get rid of those, but the cats are a real detriment to the birds, though.
They can be, yes, they are the consummate predator for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that one. So
just-
indoor cats are always the best way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and keep your cats inside, please. So, and let's see, I guess, is there any, you want to talk about the banding?
Oh.
We do some banding, too, on
Yeah,
birds.
let's bring that up real quick.
Okay.
This weekend on Saturday, I believe it's the 8th we decided?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
yeah,
8th.
so the 8th of February, we're going to be out at Hobb State Park. doing banding. So a couple faculty from University of Arkansas and myself will be giving a presentation out there called Birds and Breakfast. We do it January, February, March, and April out at Hobbs, and we've been doing it for about 10 years now. But we do have I got some banding equipment here. I can show us a pair of pliers, this banding pliers. You can see the holes here. This is where we put the bands in and crimp the bands on the leg. It functions like a bracelet, so it just slide up and down the leg easily enough.
So how do you catch the birds?
We catch them in a net.
Oh,
yeah. So
okay.
you remember the hair nets from a long time ago
Oh,
that people
yeah.
used to wear with the curlers? Yeah. So
Yeah.
just picture that in a large form, okay, in the sense of it's about 30 feet long and about 10 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a very similar type of mesh. So I don't know if you can kind of see some of the bird bands that I've got in here as possible. But these are different colors that we'll put on the bluebirds. Wide
And
variety
they'll
of colors.
just signify different things.
And they do, yeah. We can put different colors on the different legs in different order. So we'll end up with a number of different permutations, about 1,200 different permutations with the number of bands that we've got.
So if you see a bird with a band on their leg, should call you or email
Definitely
you?
call me, yes. Yeah,
let you
definitely,
know?
yeah, exactly. And
What
we've had
a-
a number of homeowners do that, yeah.
Yeah.
They just,
I
yeah.
haven't seen any banded legs. Of course, they come and go so fast.
They do,
sometimes,
yeah.
too.
So we've been doing it out at 5 years out at Birchdale. The golf course out there, the park
yeah.
that's been closed down is just a park. We're out at Branchwood, dog park over by the Loch Lomond Dam there, and Bella Vista Cemetery. So we've been banding the birds out there. So it's not uncommon if somebody goes around and just goes for a walk that they'll
And see a
color
band on
banded
there.
bird out there.
I don't know how you get those bands on those little bitty birds. They're so little. It's amazing. So, well, I'm hoping people will stop in your shop and you got lots of things for birds and bird lovers, and
Yeah.
we gotta increase our bird populations. They've really dropped over the past 30 years.
Yeah, they have, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that from breeding bird surveys, and we know that from the Christmas bird counts. Yeah, that have been
That's a
taking place.
national
Yeah, both
account.
national events. Yeah, so that's how they know when they say bird populations have dropped 40% since the 70s. That's how they know.
Yeah.
They have the data monitoring annually.
Yeah, and then of
Going
course
back
your
to the
data is
60s.
just
It
really
is, yeah.
great.
It is. It
If
is
more
really necessary.
communities would do that data, we'd have a better picture.
That's an excellent point. In fact, the one I started was in response to the fact that the breeding bird survey is only during the summertime months during the breeding season. The Christmas bird count is only during the Christmas
Right.
season. So my thought was, let's get one going monthly throughout the entire year so we can
Yeah.
see the fluctuations that go on.
Makes a big difference.
It does. And when we started it, there were only 5 communities in the United States that were doing this type of a count systematically. So, so it's we're just going to keep this thing going, and
That's
we're going to be
great.
one of the few. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, we're the bluebird capital of the USA, I know, because we have more bluebirds than anybody else. But I do need to talk a little bit about what to do in your garden. The ice and snow, we haven't had too much ice, but if you have any ice on your plants, don't try to remove that ice. Just let it melt because you'll just break the branches. Excuse me. The snow you can kind of get off with a broom if the limbs are, bent too bad. House plants, you just got to watch for spider mites and control those. Winter lawns, you got to apply lime if you need it. Roses, you can apply Dorman spray. You won't trim your roses till March. And trees and shrubs, you'll just monitor your water. Most perennials you divide late February, starting in March probably. I think we're going to have a longer winter this year, so maybe March will be the time you really start. Grasses, you can start cutting back the end of February and in March basically. And so winter's a good time to get your hot chocolate and your catalogs and see what you're going to plant for the year. And the next meeting, the next meeting of the Bella Vista Garden Club is Wednesday, February 26th at 9:30 at the Bella Vista Community Church. And the program is going to be from Natalie Vowell. She's director of True Colors Farm. And it's a pick-your-own tulip farm, so that'd be interesting. And then Tony Lockhausie is going to talk about basic lawn care. So if you go to the Bella Vista Garden Club website, bellavistagardenclub.com, there's just a lot of information there. And the next Benton County Master Gardener meeting will be on March 4th at a new location. It's the First United Methodist Church off the square in Bentonville. And the social time is 5:30. And then the meeting starts at 6. So guests are always welcome to that. And they have a great website too, and I think it's been shown on the screen. So thank you, Butch, for joining us today and giving us all this great information.
You're very welcome.
Now, I do remember one thing you told me one time, that the babies of a batch of bluebirds will come back and maybe help feed the next generation.
That's a possibility, yeah. That's something we'd still like to dig into a little bit more.
Okay, we're going to have to keep that in mind, and then we'll talk about that the next time you come back.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.